Hey, it's our weekly streaming show, and here's a sneak peek at our top streamer of the week. Once again, go get you some Sam Howell, still rostered in just 34% of Yahoo leagues, coming off 388 yards and a pair of touchdowns against the Bears. He'll face the Falcons this week, quietly ranked 12th in AFPA to opposing quarterbacks, so I don't love it, but they just gave up a quality outing to CJ Stroud last week. I'm going to keep recommending Sam Howell until his rostership goes above 40%. It's not there now, so go get you some Sam Howell, and now let's get to the show. Welcome, everyone, to the Most Accurate Podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Brandon Niles. With me is my wonderful co-host, the unflappable Jen Akins. Jen, how's it going, buddy?
I think I'm flappable, but I'm good. I'm great, actually. I can't complain. Week 6, here we are.
Yeah.
We are officially a third of the way through. Really, more than that for, when you start the fantasy playoffs and whatnot. So, I'm feeling okay. Ready to talk a little streamer. It's a weird week, I think, for everything, really. Waiver wire, streamer, all of it. I think it's kind of a dull week, to be honest. But we have options, and we will give them out. How are you, Brandon?
I'm doing okay. Other than completely butchering the cold open, that's a good. That's
what?
This is how I think you're not flappable, though, right? You just let that go. I appreciate that. You didn't even call me out on that, Jen.
And you know what the thing is, honestly, at this point, considering it's Sam Howell every week, just run the same one. Like, why are you even doing it? Let's just run the one from 3 weeks ago at the start of every one, and here we are.
Absolutely. Let's do it. Welcome to our weekly streamer show where we highlight the quarterbacks, tight ends, kickers, and team defenses you should be targeting as streaming options for the upcoming week. As a reminder, we only discuss a streaming option if they're available in 40% or less of Yahoo leagues. So if your favorite option isn't discussed, they're probably rostered in too many leagues. We're going to hit a couple questions before we start. Thank you to everyone who's in the chat. We appreciate you. Samson, nice to see you every week. Gardner Minshew or Brock Purdy this week. I like Gardner Minshew as a streaming option, kind of a long shot play, but I'm still going to go with Brock Purdy, just the production he's been putting out. He's got multiple touchdowns in 3 out of 5 outings this week, got rushing touchdowns in 2 outings this week. He's not turning the ball over, and he did it against the Dallas defense last week. So I think Brock Purdy is definitely the play there. Hammer wants to know about Geno Smith or Gardner Minshew for a super flex league. Jen, which one of those two do you prefer, Minshew or Geno Smith?
I go Geno against the Bengals this week for that one. And I agree with you on the other one as well. I would go Purdy. But I think Purdy and Minshew are pretty close, actually, this week. But you can't really not play Purdy at this point. He's good. And
all the weapons he has, that's the thing. I feel like the floor is high. So he's quietly the QB5 right now.
That's crazy.
He's doing really well. Roland always wants to know if they should start Javonte Williams in a half PPR or Rashee Rice this Thursday night. Which one would you go with? That's a tough one for me because we really don't know how healthy Javonte Williams is.
So. Yeah, I think in a vacuum, I go Javonte because I cannot trust anybody in that Kansas City offense. Now, or not offense, I mean pass catchers besides Travis Kelce when healthy. But they are playing the Broncos, who are pretty much dead last in every category in adjusted fantasy points allowed. So, they're playing each other. I guess if Javonte's healthy, I go him. If not, you roll the dice with Rice and hope he gets in.
I roll the dice with Rice and hope he gets in. I think that's what I do. It does look like he's getting looked at in the red zone. So at least there's that. But yeah, it's scary both ways. So I'll definitely say A is the name of the person asking this question. Hey, A, would you trade George Kittle for Jahmyr Gibbs in a full PPR? They have Sam Laporta as their tight end. I'm okay moving Kittle. Gibbs might be the best package you can get. I'm not sure. I'm okay with that, but I feel like there might be a better option somewhere. Jen, what do you think?
Yeah, I think if you're giving up Kittle, especially in the landscape of tight end that we're dealing with, he's a pretty hot commodity, especially he's coming off a huge 3 touchdown game. So I would aim a little higher than Gibbs. And I like Gibbs. I mean, I have him on several teams and I'm hoping that he comes around and he's healthy this week too. So I would aim a little higher, but I don't hate it if that's what you have.
If that's the best you can do, I think that's fine. Hi, Tom Sturdivant, our friend Tom. Logan Thomas over Tyler Higbee. David Njoku is in there too in the mix. 3 tight ends. Not sure what to do with that. I've been enjoying Logan Thomas and specifically Jen's love for Logan Thomas. That's led me in a good direction at the tight end position this year. So I'd go Logan there. But what do you think, Jen?
I mean, if you're talking rest of season, yeah. I mean, Logan Thomas is at least, he's more fun than Tyler Higbee. And David Njoku, I don't know. That offense is pretty difficult to trust. So, listen, we're looking at one really good game from Logan Thomas. So, we just have to hope that that's kind of going to be the norm moving forward.
And the Browns also might be starting PJ Walker this weekend, so always a concern as well.
Hey, it might be an upgrade.
It might be. Yeah, Deshaun is terrible. Andrew is in a full PPR, 32-person league, which is crazy. Joe Mixon and Kenneth Walker for Devontae Smith and Derrick Henry. That's 32-person league is impressive. I'd have to know how badly you need the receiver. But I'd rather, like in a vacuum, I'd rather have Mixon and Walker over Smith and Henry. But if you really need the receiver, I think the trade is probably reasonably fair. What do you think, Jen?
I can't get past the 32-man league, to be honest with you, to even think about this question. Like, I'm in an 18-person, and that's, to me, and that's slim, when you get to, 32, like, you're already in the scrubs by round 5, I mean, not really, but, but yeah, I think I agree with what you said. In a vacuum, prefer the Mixon Walker side, but if you are, if you have Justin Jefferson and say a couple other guys that are going to be out and you really need wide receiver help, then I don't hate it.
Yeah. Let's hit a couple more and then we'll get into our actual streamers. Phoenix Steven dropping Elijah Mitchell for Jahan Dotson for Amari DeMarcado and Jeff Wilson. Is this sensible? Who should they prioritize? And how much do we value Josh Downs? That's a lot going in there. I think that it's okay to make those drops. I don't have a problem dropping Elijah Mitchell and Dotson. DeMarcado has a really hard matchup and probably will share time. So I'm not excited about putting him in the lineup. I view Wilson as kind of a stash. I like Josh Downs, but I probably wouldn't drop Tutu Atwell or Tank Dell for him. You can. I'm not opposed to it, but I don't think any of those swaps are things you absolutely need to make.
I like you. Listen, I like Josh Downs, and I think he even gets a small bump with Minshew, to be honest. So
very possible.
I like Downs. That, like you said, that the drop and swap, I don't know. I think they're all. Elijah Mitchell has value.
Yeah.
If he's healthy, even though, he does. Even though Jordan Mason had some pretty decent work, in the blowout the other day, so they're obviously kind of seeing what he has. But Dotson, unfortunately. I think I put him in my thin ice today on the dead weight report. I know I didn't put him in the actual drop because I think it's just too painful for me, but he's, he is droppable.
Samson, thank you very much. We appreciate the super chat, the help. We appreciate you coming every week and chatting with us. Always nice to see you, Samson. One more question before we get into streamers. Duffy wants to know, Derrick Henry and DJ Moore for Jalen Waddle and Ken Walker. Jen, I'm going to have you answer that. My Dolphins fandom and love for Ken Walker does not allow me to answer that question objectively. So I'm going to have you handle that one.
I actually, though, I am a Dolphin fan as well, but I still prefer the Waddle and Ken Walker side of that. DJ Moore, he had a fantastic game last week, but let's see more from Moore before we go down that route. And Henry seems to be, he's hit or miss. So I prefer anyone in that Dolphin offense. And Walker has been surprisingly very good. Coming into the season, like you said, Brandon is a big fan. I was not, and I'm impressed.
Yep. Yeah. It's I'm glad it's not just me. I was like, ooh, I can't answer that because that's a definite yes for me. So.
Right. No, I agree with you though. I would take that side.
Excellent. All right, so let's hit some quarterbacks. I already talked about Sam Howell. Just a reminder, Howell is the QB5 over the last 2 weeks since his horrible Buffalo outing. A little bit of that's garbage time, but we like garbage time in fantasy. That works out pretty well. This is honestly, to me, kind of a 2-quarterback week. I like Baker Mayfield versus Detroit as the other quarterback. He's only rostered 19% of Yahoo leagues right now. He's the QB 16 in fantasy points per game this season. Last time we saw him, he put up 22.9 points against a tough Saints defense. Detroit's 24th in AFPA to opposing quarterbacks, so you can throw against them. And then Bryce Young just finished QB 12 against Detroit in a blowout loss. I think whether it's close or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers get blown out, I think either way, Baker Mayfield puts up enough fantasy points to be a fringe QB1 this week. which is what you're looking for a streamer. The only way that doesn't happen, I think, is if the Bucs blow out the Lions, which I just don't see happening. So I like Baker Mayfield. The other ones, I think you can kind of make an argument for three other guys. Gardner Minshew, a lot of people like. Wasn't a QB1 his last start, but that was against Baltimore. Colts may just run the ball, so I'm a little concerned about that. But if you're desperate, the Jags are ranked 21st in AFPA, and Gardner Minshew can throw, can put up fantasy numbers. He's only rostered in 1% of leagues. That's probably going to go up, obviously. 1% is because he was the backup a week ago. But we'll see. I don't mind taking a gamble on Minshew. And then a couple other long shots. Bryce Young at Miami. Bryce Young, like I said, QB 12 finish against Detroit. We like garbage time points. Miami's going to probably blow out Carolina. I think that Bryce Young will probably be able to throw the ball. Miami's 25th in AFBA to quarterbacks. And then Desmond Ridder coming off a nice, solid game. Washington is 23rd in AFPA. Ritter's at home, coming off a nice out. He's got good weapons. They just added Van Jefferson, who is a decent football ad, if not a decent fantasy ad. So, again, I don't love Young and Ridder, but I think if you're desperate and you can't get Howell or Mayfield, you could take a gamble on one of those guys and be okay, especially if you're reeling from losing Anthony Richardson. I wanted to ask you, Jen, this is not on the sheet, so forgive me if
oh, no.
for this. I wanted to ask you, we saw a really rough outing from Jordan Love against the Raiders last night, right?
Yeah,
and
I'm
curious if Jordan Love is someone that you're still okay kind of holding on to, or if you're starting to worry.
I would worry if he was my QB1. I would hope he's nobody's QB1. But if you're hanging on to him kind of as a bye week fill-in or something like that, I would maybe seek elsewhere. That was pretty rough. And the Raiders defense is like one, I don't know exactly where they're ranked, but they're pretty low on there. So I don't feel like it was a super tough matchup. And he, there were some bad decisions. Yeah, didn't love it. So yeah, he does get Denver next week, which is nice. But it's just tough because you don't know which one's going to show up, right? Like the first couple games were really good, but you're like, they was masked a little bit. And then when he's had some bad outings against tougher defenses. And like I said, the Raiders were not a tough defense. So,
and not running as much as we thought he would. I mean, he runs a little, but it's not the designed runs that we were kind of hoping for. So, yeah, thank you, Alex, for telling us Jordan Love gets Denver next week. That is an enticing matchup for streaming purposes, although he is rostered in too many leagues for that.
Alex Keaton, love the name.
Absolutely. My youth, the nostalgia is strong here. Let's hit a couple questions again. Thank you again to everyone in the chat who's bringing up questions. We'll hit a couple questions and then we'll get on to tight ends. Tingley wants to know, has some more trade advice in a 10-team PPR. They have Puka and Devontae Smith and Zay Flowers, Tyler Lockett and Tank Dell. Do they need more receivers? Should they go after someone? I think Puka and Devontae Smith and Zay Flowers and Tyler Lockett, I think you should be able to piece together 2 to 3 receivers plus a flex out of that group. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah. I think they're fine. I mean, it depends what else is out there, what you're running, what your situation is, but I don't think that you're in any kind of panic or like needing to trade mode. I think you're fine based on, I think Flowers is only going to get better. Puka, I think, is going to be fine. I mean, we saw that he was fine last week.
Super encouraging that Kupp and him both ate.
Yeah, exactly. So, and Devonta Smith is Devonta Smith and Lockett. And I think they're fine.
Yeah. Primetime Edits wants to know if they should make trades. Looks like they're anchored by Lamar Jackson, Austin Eckler, Derrick Henry, Amari Cooper, Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and Mark Andrews. Has Breece Hall in a flex. I think with Eckler likely coming back this week, you're in good shape. Primetime Edits. I wouldn't panic on anything. Lamar Jackson's going to be fine. Those Steelers-Ravens games are always a crapshoot, so you never really know what's going to happen.
That was tough, though. I am a Lamar manager, and I lost in the league that I have him because it was a rough game.
Tough.
So I feel your pain, but Lamar,
he's got 3 great weeks and like bookended by 2
but
bad
that Lamar Andrews stack is should pay off. I think your team is fine. I mean, if anything, you may want to get away from having both Bucs receivers. I don't know how well that's going to serve you, but I think you're fine unless you want to, little ticky tacky things. But I don't think it's like, oh my God, I think you should be okay.
Yeah, I think so too. And Hall and Eckler should just keep getting better, I think. So
yeah,
I think you're in good shape. Andrew has another trade question. Forgot to mention it's a tight end premium, so 2-time PPR. Okay, so tight end premium league trading Walker and Josh Allen. for Evan Ingram and Lamar Jackson. Even in a tight end premium, I don't think that going from Josh Allen to Lamar and losing Ken Walker is worth the ad. I'd probably just stream guys like Cade Otton and try to do the best you can. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, no, I agree. Ingram is fine, but I don't think he's worth that.
Okay. Emil wants to know if they should start Jeff Wilson this week. I'd give it a week. I'm not quite ready.
Yeah, I would say unless you're truly desperate, which you could be.
Could be.
But I would think that hopefully there's better options out there. But if you're truly desperate, you never know. But like you said, I would give it a week, especially because he is coming off injury.
Justice Hill is available in, I think, 72% of Yahoo leagues. So I'd rather take a gamble on Justice Hill since he's getting 4 targets.
Yeah, he on my bench in several leagues this past week, which was rough.
I'm
tough.
just saying over Jeff Wilson. I mean, he's not safe, right? But he's got a role. So.
He's not. But yeah, I agree.
Joe, I give you permission to drop Elijah Mitchell. I would probably grab Kendra Miller because it looks like he's got a defined role there, at least while Jamaal Williams is out. DeMarcado's interesting, kind of a lottery ticket. Deontay Foreman, interesting, but I feel like Roschon's healthy, so I think that's okay. I don't know. Do you want to make an argument for DeMarcado or Foreman, Jen?
Kind of. I think Miller's fine, but I feel like Williams is coming back as early as next week. So
is that true? Okay, I thought he was out a little longer. So
no, he's coming back week 7 is his first. And we'll get to him later in the show.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So, James Conner is out for a while. So DeMarcado, in theory, is a great pickup, but we don't really know what he has to offer. We haven't seen him yet. But so yeah, I would maybe go DeMarcado just based on opportunity.
Yeah, I like that. Corey Jackson had Jefferson. I think you're fine with George Pickens and Tyler Lockett. Doesn't hurt to grab somebody like KJ Osborne just in case, if you can, but I think you're fine.
By the way, Pickens, for you, I'm sure you were thrilled because I know you have him everywhere.
He's been doing well. He's been doing pretty well. Even in fewer games, he seems to bail me out with a late touchdown.
Yeah. He had a great game.
K9, should they trade Calvin Ridley for Breece Hall? Running backs are Jahmyr Gibbs and Miles Sanders, and they have A.J. Brown, Chris Olave, Tank Dell, and Gabriel Davis. Yes, you should do that. I think
I would do that as well.
Yeah,
Sanders is not really even startable right now.
He doesn't look healthy, and the team can't run because they can't stay in games. So that's tough. And Chuba's been playing the passing down. So roster Roschon Johnson or Jalen Warren rest of season as a bench stash. I would go Roschon, but you could argue either one for me. Jen, do you have a preference?
Yeah, it's interesting. I get this exact question a lot. In my Thursday morning Discord AMAs, it's literally these two players all last week, the week before. I kind of go back and forth. I prefer Warren, actually. I think Roschon Johnson is fine. And I understand now that with Herbert out, it's probably Johnson, but I like Warren. I like the way he plays, and
another guy with a defined role.
Yeah,
so,
he contributes. I started him last week, and I don't remember his exact points, but he absolutely contributed to my team.
Yeah, absolutely. Corey Jackson play Justin Herbert or Jared Goff. I like both of them. I think that the matchups are tough for both of them, so I would side with Herbert. If it was a better matchup for Goff, but he faces Tampa, that's not an easy matchup. As long as Herbert's healthy, check the injury reports. But as long as he's healthy, I'd go Herbert there. What do you think, Jen?
Yeah, I think you always kind of have to go Herbert over Goff, regardless of matchup. I think you kind of just have to. And listen, he's playing Dallas, which I guess technically is a difficult matchup, but we saw Brock Purdy absolutely destroy Dallas 2 nights ago. So
absolutely. So you never know. Dallas has looked very dominant against teams like the Giants. So
right. And then Brock Purdy, they freaking pulled him because he was So pulled him the other way, not because he was suffering, because he was destroying them.
So we've got more questions and we will get to them. I do want to hit some streamers though. So let's talk, let's ask that question that I look forward to asking Jen every single week. And the thing that I think is the most important question of my week, and that's Jen, is it a good week to stream tight ends?
It's a little less than medium. It's okay. I give it like a 5. It's a middle of the road week for tight ends. There's one strong option and then a few, right? So kind of like your quarterback, right? One strong option, and then we've got a few. Coincidentally, my tight end streamer is on the same team as your quarterback, and that's Logan Thomas for like the whatever umpteenth week in a row. He's only 16% rostered. That will change after his huge performance the other night, no doubt. But yeah, he's playing in Atlanta. He's coming off a line of 977-1. He's healthy. Falcons are 28th in tight end adjusted fantasy points allowed. They're allowing 13.9 half PPR points to the tight end position every week. So, and in tight end, that's good in tight end land. Yeah. So Logan Thomas is the number one guy. Second guy I have, not great, but okay, is Cade Otton against Detroit. He is only 2% rostered coming off a bye week. 2 of his 4 games have been double digit in PPR scoring. And Detroit is 26 against the tight end. So he's getting the volume. He's not fantastic. He's not going to win you the week, but he's a serviceable tight end this week. If you
know, I love me some Cade Otton.
And he's available in 98% of leagues. So whether you have a 32-man roster or a 12 or not roster, but league.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the third one is definitely on the mess side. He's on the mess side anyway, right? And that's Gerald Everett. Like that's the first thing out of your mouth when you hear his name. It's but Gerald Everett, unless Donald Parham is back. If Donald Parham is out, then we're back, then you can possibly go with him. He's TBD with a wrist injury. But either way, they're playing Dallas. They're 20th against the tight end. Kittle just teed off on Dallas for 26.2 half PPR points last week. So there are worse options than Gerald Everett this week.
Yeah, I love it. I Cade Otton, I might be
You're on
starting
mute, or I can't hear you.
Oh, okay. I don't think that I'm on mute right now.
I can't hear you.
Still can't hear me. Huh?
And anybody else?
Yeah, if somebody in the chat wants to let me know if we can hear us.
You're back. I don't know what happened. That was super weird.
Well,
it might have just been me.
All right, let's hit a couple questions, and then we'll go on to kickers. So Mike got offered DJ Moore and Javonte Williams for Ramondre Stevenson and Elijah Moore. Running backs are Kamara, Pacheco, Ramondre. I think you do. I think DJ Moore is the best player in that trade. And Javonte might be the second best player in that trade. So I think you do that all day.
Yes.
Saying play Purdy or Stafford this week. I do like Purdy as a safe floor, but Stafford faces Arizona. Gotta go with Stafford.
Yeah.
Steven wants to know if they should trade Jordan Addison for Joe Burrow. Quarterback is CJ Stroud, who I like. Wide receiver, they have Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Brandon Ayuk, Zay Flowers, Tank Dell. I don't think you're starting Jordan Addison most weeks, so I would start Burrow just in case he turns back into Joe Burrow. So I would make that trade.
Interesting. I actually start Addison every week in a league, so don't say that people aren't doing
it. I'm saying over Jamar Chase,
based
AJ
on
Brown,
what he has.
Ayuk. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. I didn't even look at that.
Yeah, that wasn't a knock on Jordan Addison at all. Right. He's doing very well and has a lot of upside the rest of the year. I just can't see starting over those guys.
Yeah, no, you are correct there. But yeah, Joe Burrow was Joe Burrow last week, so let's hope it's he's back. But yeah, I'm down with that.
Yeah, I think so. Beast Mode name. I love the name. Runs 3 running backs every week with McCaffrey as a lock and has to figure out which RB2 and flex, what should they do? David Montgomery, Ken Walker, Josh Jacobs, and Isaiah Pacheco. Wow. Can you trade one? Those are
you great. Have all of those guys on your team? That's kind of insane.
All those running backs. It should be illegal to have that many good running backs.
I'm guessing that your wide receivers are bad. I mean, I don't know how you can have all those guys on your lineup and have, I don't know. But yeah, incredible. I guess it's a good problem to have.
I wouldn't want to sit David Montgomery, but I will say Tampa Bay is really good against the run. I don't know that
Pacheco has a fantastic matchup.
Pacheco has a phenomenal matchup. Ken Walker has a good match. I don't know. By our rankings, right? We have them ranked Jacobs, Montgomery, and then Walker, and then Pacheco. I almost would reverse that because I don't know. I empathize with you here, Beast Mode. By your name, I feel like Ken Walker might be your favorite player, so because you might be a Seattle fan. So with Beast Mode, so maybe you start Ken Walker and Jacobs gets the touches, so he has that high floor. Same with Montgomery. I don't know. Jacobs and Montgomery, that's your safe play. Walker and Pacheco is your swing for the fences play.
I can get behind that.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry we weren't super helpful there, Beast Mode. That's a tough
That's a
decision.
tough one, though.
Christopher Ref needs help with the trade offer. Someone wants to trade Keenan Allen for Jamar Chase. They have Herbert. They want the stack. I know Allen's been better than Chase in most games this year. I would still hold on to Chase.
I would keep Chase as well.
Bench or drop Darren Waller. It depends who you're benching or dropping. Darren Waller's been disappointing. I'm okay benching him, but it's the tight end position, so he's still probably a top 10 guy. So
he had a decent week. Listen, I am someone that has Darren Waller on a league, and there's nobody on the waiver wire. Like, I've gone to stream the last couple of weeks because I'm super frustrated with him. I don't think you can drop him, though. I feel like you said, you can bench him if you can find somebody else, but it depends on your league, right? Some leagues people do not, people should only carry one tight end, but there are leagues where people don't. And this one league I'm in, everyone has like 2 or 3, and I go to stream and there's nobody to stream. So I'm stuck with Waller. Luckily he had a good, he had a little bit of a decent week last week. So let's hope that continues.
Absolutely. All right. Mako, send DJ Moore, receive Tony Pollard. They have Jamar Chase, AJ Brown, Drake London, Mike Evans. I like your top 2 receivers. I kind of worry about giving up your third receiver. You've got Joe Mixon, Miles Sanders, and Samaje Perine. You do need the running back. I'd probably make that trade, even though Pollard, but you're banking on Pollard doing better and the Dallas offense doing better. But because you do need a running back, I'd probably do that trade.
I was just doing a little research on Pollard actually right before this show because I was writing a trade article. I was not aware, like let me look real quick before I say this.
He's struggling. Yeah.
No, he is struggling as far as output goes, but he's like third or fourth in touches in the NFL right now. He has the 4th highest touch rate through 5 games, and he's tied for first with McCaffrey in red zone attempts with 27. Like, I feel like the points they'll be here. I don't know if we should panic on Pollard. And I think you should trade for him. So without looking at all the rest of this, he is one of the guys that I think you should trade for this week.
This is a nice buy low Pollard, sell high DJ Moore. So it works out nice. So I think, I think we're on board for that. All right. Jen, another very important question that I love to ask you, and that I know very specific audience definitely looks forward to this question every week. Is it a good week to stream kicker?
It's not. I'm gonna be frank. It's kind of ugly. It's frustrating. I hate when there's only a few weeks a season where it pans out where all of the really good games and the really good matchups are all the guys that are highly rostered, right? They're not streamable. You got to go to the bottom of the barrel kind of to get, and that's kind of where we are this week. Unfortunately, I give it like a 4 out of 10. It's not pretty. But I did come up with some options at least for you, so that if people that are streaming can find people. I mean, it's not completely desolate. It's just not. It's not a slam dunk week where you're like, cool, this guy's going to go off. This guy, no. So first guy I have is Brandon McManus. He is back from London at home against Indy. He's only 25% rostered. The Jags have the 6th highest implied team total of the week, so not awful. They're at 25.25, and the Jags are 4-point favorites. So he is my top guy of the week. Like I said, I mean, I'm not in love with Brandon McManus from a kicking perspective, of course, but he's okay. I think he's the best guy of the week. Second guy, every time I say it, I'm just like Greg Joseph. He actually had a really good week last week. He was kicker 12, so I mean, good, relatively. But yeah, they're on the road in Chicago. He's only 11% rostered. It's a divisional game, which those are always fun. Team implied totals are 24.25, and they are 2.5-point favorites over the Bears, which I kind of find surprising actually, because the Vikings are struggling as well, and they don't have Jefferson, but they are still 2.5-point favorites over Chicago. So he's my second guy. He's all right if you need him. Third guy is Cameron Dicker, who I normally really like, but he is playing at home against Dallas. He's only 21% rostered because he is coming off that bye. They're actually home dogs, the Chargers. Which I don't normally do dogs for streaming, but like I said, this week's gross, so I had to. So they're a pick to lose by 2 points, and they have a 24.5 team implied total. So Dicker's there if you need him. He's a good kicker, and he's on a team that scores a lot. So if you want to grab him now and just kind of ride through this kind of gross game, he may, we may see sunshine on the horizon. And then I have a bonus. Even on a bad week, I have a bonus.
I always like a bonus.
On a bad week, I have a bonus. Blake Grupe or Grupe. I don't know how to say his name, but him. Kicker for the Saints, rookie. He's my bonus. You know what? I didn't even write down. Who are the Saints playing again? I should know that, but right now my brain is not working. So while you come up with that, but he's kicker 8 on the season so far. Surprisingly, he's been a nice little pleasant surprise. They are 1.5 point favorites over
Houston.
That's right. I absolutely knew that. So yeah, they're 1.5 point favorites over Houston. Kind of a low team implied total of 21.5. So not great as far as the process goes. Like I said, he's kicker 8 on the season, and he's only 3% rostered. So if you're in a super deep league, he's there.
Excellent. I love it. I always love the kicker options. I'm always a fan. And I'm going to have a similar defense to your Dicker concept, like just kind of deal with this week and then move forward.
Yeah.
So, I was enjoying. Hi, Mr. Scapers. Thank you so much for joining us. As a reminder to everybody listening, if you're not a member over at 4for4, use promo code YouTube to save 25% off a 4for4 subscription at 4for4.com/plans. Great site, great. Tons of in-season content, tons of things that Jen writes and edits throughout every week that's worth reading. So definitely check that out. I also wanted to talk about Prize Picks before we get into defensive streamers. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. Go to prizepicks.com/accurate. Use code accurate for a first deposit match up to $100. For week 6, I'm going back to the well with a wide receiver 1 facing the Colts. Last week, DeAndre Hopkins delivered against this secondary. I'm expecting Calvin Ridley to do so as well. I'm going with more than 62.5 receiving yards. Seems well within reach for Ridley. They're giving up tons of numbers to the wide receiver 1, the Colts secondary is. And I actually don't hate Christian Kirk getting more than 59.5 yards either. So do you have a Prize Picks pick for us this week, Jen?
I do have one. I am going with Isaiah Pacheco, more than 89.5 combined rushing and receiving yards. So the Broncos are dead last in rushing yards allowed. They're allowing 188 yards per game. They're also allowing 51 receiving yards per game to running backs.
Wow.
So so that's a lot of yards and fantasy points. But this particular, it's 89.5. I'm going more than combined rushing and receiving. That's my pick.
Excellent. Those are my 2 picks this week. Absolutely. Great call, Jen. I'm definitely going to load that up as well. Don't forget to go to prizepicks.com/accurate and use code accurate for a first deposit match up to $100. Prize Picks is daily fantasy sports made easy. Let's hit a couple questions before we get to defenses. Jenna. Hi, Jenna. Wants to know who they should try to target for DeAndre Hopkins. List the roster. It looks like they could probably use running back help. I'd be probably eyeing like Isaiah Pacheco or somebody in that realm. That's kind of who I would go after. Somebody that's not viewed really highly on the trade market, but maybe should be. So that's kind of the running back area. Do you have somebody else you may be targeting right now that you think Hopkins might be able to fetch, Jen?
In that realm, that's tough. Maybe like a Jerome Ford.
Oh, nice.
Someone like that. That's pretty much. Yeah, to add with, I forgot. Who did you just say?
I said Isaiah Pacheco. I feel like somebody in that area.
Yeah, I'd say Jerome Ford. I mean, maybe. Well, no, I was going to say Rashad White, but I wouldn't do that. So yeah, I'd say maybe a Jerome Ford, maybe a Dameon Pierce, someone like that, or James Cook. You could possibly get someone.
People are selling Cook right now, so
yeah, I was going to say you could get someone
buying.
to buy low on that guy.
Jax, Jalen Waddle or Christian Kirk? Give me the Jalen Waddle side of that. Just the upside is just bigger, and I think the consistency is going to be a problem for both players. So. Savage Chris, would we trade Amon-Ra and Devontae Smith for Devontae Adams and Jahmyr Gibbs? I wouldn't. I like everyone in that trade, but I think Amon-Ra is probably the best player. What do you think?
I guess if you really need the running back help, then
I guess, yeah.
And because I think Devontae Adams is better than Devontae Smith, but Amon-Ra, like you said, is the better of the 3. So if you're super desperate for running back help, I don't hate it. If not, I would just stay put.
Yeah. Lee Ving wants to know who they should drop to pick up Gardner Minshew, Daniel Jones, or Joshua Dobbs. I could go either way there, but I'd probably side with Dobbs just because Jones does have the rushing upside. So
Yeah, and Kyler Murray potentially will be back sooner than
but
later.
yeah.
So I would probably go Dobbs as well.
Yeah. Mr. Scampers, thanks for weighing in. Considers Ramondre Stevenson a buy low option, not a bad option as well. Leaving wants to know if they should drop Khalil Herbert. Depends how deep your roster is. I think it's his job when he comes back, although it's always possible Roschon Johnson could look so good that he doesn't, that Herbert doesn't get the job back. If you've got a thin bench, then sure. If you've got a long enough bench or an IR slot, I'd keep him.
Yeah, I'd put him in IR if you have one. If you don't, that's a shame because your league should have them.
Yeah, Liam back. Yeah, your team. I completely agree. I love IR slots in fantasy leagues.
Yeah,
I advocate for more IR slots personally.
Yeah. I'm in a league that has 4. Like, it's perfect.
Yeah,
you just
absolutely
load it up.
Liam Backus wants us to rate their team. Justin Herbert and Deshaun Watson at quarterback. That's solid. Saquon, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs, Elijah Mitchell at running back. I think you're fine with Saquon and Jacobs. Saquon hopefully will be back this week. Keenan Allen, Zay Flowers, Tank Dell at wide receiver. I'd rather you had a better wide receiver too, but I don't hate it. And Dalton Kincaid and Jonnu Smith at tight end. Smith has been better than expected. Maybe you could wait for Mixon to have a good game and then try to get an upgrade at receiver or tight end.
Yeah, I would say the same because Zay Jones is or is that Zay Jones or Zay Flowers?
Oh yeah, either one.
It's Flowers.
Flowers.
Okay.
Yeah.
That changes it. That makes it better, obviously.
Okay. All right. Excellent. All right. So I'm gonna talk to Tom. Says Kellen Mond just signed. To
Oh
the
boy.
I've always loved Kellen Mond. I can't really claim that I was right about Kellen Mond. Obviously, he has not done well. But
listen, he's still in the NFL. He keeps getting jobs.
I will say I never said Kellen Mond was great. I said Kellen Mond has the highest upside of one of those guys. I said he was kind of a lottery ticket. So he just has
it's
not
not
panned
easy
out.
he still has a job. He's still making money in the NFL, and that's not an easy thing to do. So
absolutely. So I'm rooting for him. Thanks for letting me know about that, Tom. Defensive streamers, it is a meh week to stream defense. It's good if you can get the Jaguars, and then it's meh after that. Kind of like what we've been a common theme here. We like one of the targets and not so much the rest. So, but the Jaguars, they're at home against the Colts. Gardner Minshew starting for the Colts. We'll see if that's a good or a bad thing for the Colts offense. But I think that the Jaguars are a good defense, and it's something it confuses me that they continue to be under rostered on Yahoo. They're available and they're only rostered in 16% of leagues. They're the defense special teams 12 on the season in Yahoo. They have a +4 turnover differential. They're tied for second in the league with 11 takeaways. Pass rush hasn't really shown up yet, but the talent's there. I feel like, the Colts are missing their left tackle. I think that you could kind of see the Jags defense bother Minshew a little bit and force some turnovers. So I like the Jags, and they're a defense you can kind of hold on to. Last week, I liked the Texans against the Falcons. I still like the Texans. They're at home against the Saints. They're the defense special teams 15 over the last 4 weeks. Only given up an average of 14.7 points over the last 3, so they're getting better. They're well coached. They have a +5 turnover differential. Tied for 11 with 7 takeaways. You'd like to see more than that. You'd like to see more sacks, but the Saints are tied for 4th with 17 sacks allowed. So maybe this is the week that the Texans, Jonathan Greenard, who's been kind of a monster, tees off and gets after Derek Carr. I like the Texans. I don't love them, but I like them as a streaming option. And then finally, the last team that I want to talk about is a team with a terrible matchup this week. I'm hoping that you just have like a roster spot or you can eat it. Maybe you're in one of those leagues where defenses don't get a lot of negative points and then you're just hoping for something good. But the Browns, everyone dropped them because of the bye week. So they're at 29% rostership right now on Yahoo, and they're really good. They're at home against the 49ers, so I don't really want to start them this week, but Colts, Seahawks, Cardinals, the next 3 games. Myles Garrett's he's an actual monster. Like, if aliens came to Earth to steal the superpowers of athletes in football, Myles Garrett would be one of the first ones the aliens would take to become monstars. So, I can't really advocate the Browns, but if you're in one of those leagues where you don't really get negative points, you don't have good options, maybe it's worth suffering through the week. Or if you're in a league where you've got a deep enough bench, like I would grab the Browns for the next 3 weeks after this week on defense.
Okay. I can dig it.
It's not a great week, but that's okay. Liam wants to know if they should trade Devontae Adams and Alexander Madison for Stephon Diggs. If you've got the running backs, I'm okay with that. Adams isn't someone I'm eager to move, but Diggs is Diggs. So
Diggs is Diggs, but I don't think he's that. I don't know, because I don't love Madison, so I feel like, but I feel like you're giving up too much there. Like I like Diggs, but Adams is Adams. I mean, he's I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah, kind of
I
tough.
feel like you might be giving up a little too much.
Yeah, Corey wants to know if we think Devontae Smith will have a game against the Jets. He hasn't really been getting any catches. I think Philly's going to continue to be a little bit frustrating to try to pick which one's which each week and who's going to get the most looks. But I think he'll be solid. I will say Sauce Gardner will probably cover AJ Brown, which should lead to Devontae Smith getting a couple more open looks. So I don't know. I'd be reasonably bullish on Devontae Smith, but no more bullish than any other week, if that makes sense. So. Okay, let's go to another great segment, the secret stash segment. Jen, I'm always looking ahead to next week and beyond when I'm setting my waiver wire claims on Tuesday nights. So who should I be grabbing this week?
Okay, so this is kind of a deep pull, but I'm pulling him anyway because
I like it.
This is where we are in week 6. So for I have for this week, Nelson Agholor. Like I can't even believe I'm saying that out of my mouth. But you know what? He's had very consistent targets in the slot. Odell Beckham's hurt. Rashad Bateman is kind of a minimal player, right now. He's a part-timer. Tennessee is 24th against the wide receiver this season. Nelson Agholor is 0% rostered. So if you need a Hail Mary, he's there. And like I said, he's getting consistent work in the slot there. So if Baltimore can get it together and Lamar, they have a better game, and it's not against the Ravens, obviously. They're against Tennessee. They're in London too, which is always kind of fun. So he's my stash for this week. And then I brought 2 stashes for the rest of the season. One is Jamaal Williams, who we just talked about. He can come back as early as week 7. He is 52% rostered though. So he's not like super available, but he's around. He's coming off his hammy, and stash him now if you need him. I feel like even though Miller is there, I feel like Jamaal is going to come back to a decent role, even though Kamara's rolling as well. But I feel like Williams is not going to be an afterthought in that offense. I feel like he will have a role. So I have him, and then my third guy stash is Jonathan Mingo. He is 8% rostered right now. He's had 5 or more targets in every game that he's played so far this season. And let's be real, the Panthers are going to be playing from behind in most games. So, and he's the wide receiver 2 in targets right now. So I feel like the production will follow there. And he's 92% available. Percently. I just said that.
I like percently. I think you could make up the word percently.
Yeah, apparently I just did.
I kind of like that the part-time Panthers fan in me is really hoping that Mingo becomes the guy they need him to be.
He just hasn't. He's had the volume. It just hasn't translated to fantasy yet. And I feel like, I drafted him and have dropped him, since, but I feel like he's a stash. You never know.
I love it. I think, let's see. I think we've hit all the questions. I think we've hit all our segments. Jen, I appreciate you as always. Is there anything before we go that I'm forgetting?
No, we covered it. We covered it all. We answered a ton of questions. I think we did our part today on this Tuesday evening.
Excellent. Thank you, Jen. Always a pleasure. Listeners, thank you very much. Thank you to everyone in the chat. We always appreciate conversing and talking with you and seeing you every week. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. We're here every Tuesday evening at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So come join us throughout the season live on the 4for4 YouTube channel. Discuss streamers that'll get you through your fantasy season. You can follow us on Twitter at Jen Akins NFL and at 2guysbrandon. Thanks so much for checking us out, and have a good day.